Now, yesterday we discussed subsidies offered to consumers here in Korea, in Korea's mobile telecom business, how they are offered, why they are, and what kinds of problems this is causing in this segment of the day. Now, let's pick up where we left off and today discuss government efforts to tackle this chronic problem in the nation's telecom business. Dr. Byoung-joo joins me live in the studio. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So a new law called the Handset Retail System Improvement Law, that's a mouthful,
Right.
Has passed the National Assembly and it awaits implementation
Right.
in the coming months. So what does this law do? I mean, how will we benefit from this law?
The keywords for the new law, I guess, include stronger emphasis on rule of law, and then fairness, a sense of fairness, and also transparency. What I mean by a stronger emphasis on rule of law is the punishment, repercussion against violating these regulations have been strengthened under this new law. So these service providers who violate or go around these kind of rules will face tougher fines, larger fines, and tougher other kinds of measures as a punishment. And fairness, we were talking about yesterday, all these random deep discounts that are offered to the consumers out of blue, basically, and they want to get rid of that. They believe that's unfair totally, so they have to make these kind of discounts all regular and transparent. The transparency, as I mentioned, is the third keyword to define this new law. Basically, what they have to do is they have to disclose the key information. Let's bring up the graph that we used yesterday so that we can explain this one better here. Now, the retailers, especially the service providers, will have to disclose how much of those amounts are. They will be equally applied here. Handset discount from the full price, and then the service contract discount, how much that will be. And one important point here is that third one among the subsidy items, the carrier change incentive, that will be eliminated. So this is another major change.
Right, this is the incentive you get for moving over to another carrier out of the three, right?
Exactly, right. So that will be gone. So these are major changes and major points of the new law here.
Now, from a consumer's perspective, I think this is welcome news because, we no longer are at the risk of getting ripped off,
Right.
hopefully.
Right,
But what
hopefully.
about the nation's service providers? I mean, how are they reacting to this new law?
They are concerned. They are nervous. They're saying, well, look, our business margin is already pretty thin here, and if this kind of stronger law is implemented, it will further hurt our really tight business. That's overall their concern, and they're saying, our hands will be tied in terms of our further marketing innovation here, and we don't know what to do about overall maintaining a business or as a whole. The thing is, this new law will be, as you mentioned, will get implemented starting from October 1st. So they're saying, okay, within that limited time, let's do all we can to get the largest possible new subscribers being stolen away from other service providers. Let's bring up another graph that we used yesterday to explain this point better. What's happening is, like 2 days ago, for instance, I mean, this whole point about this graph that we used yesterday is that because the market is so saturated, what happens is these service providers steal away their new subscribers from other service providers, but that's happening all three ways among these three players.
Right,
so,
basically each other. They're stealing
Right.
customers from each other.
Right. So there's equilibrium you see on the screen here. The number don't really change. And what happened was 2 days ago, for example, they were saying 57,000 people actually changed their service providers. They're taking advantage of these great new deals that will be made available until the introduction of new laws. So this is chaos in a way, different kind of chaos than what we talked about yesterday. But they're saying until October 1st, they're saying we'll do all we can to get the largest possible number of subscribers.
Right, and industry experts, for one, have pointed out that they see limitations in the law and challenges ahead for the implementation. What are they?
The experts seem to see a lot of limitations. One good example that I should mention for the interest of time, I can only mention one. That is, one loophole is what's called the retailer rebate. What's happening is service providers actually give cash to these retailers who hold these shops in different locations. And from that cash, retailer can freely, right, at this point decide how much will go out for a subsidy and how much money they will keep. Meaning that they're desperate for new business, they'll spend money as a subsidy. And if they're feeling a little bit comfortable, they'll keep that cash from the service provider. And in the new law, there's no clause touching upon this practice. So they're saying this practice will be further abused and they will get to see more of confusion in the future. That's one example of a loophole under the new law.
You know, it seems like no matter how tight or strong a regulation is, if they plan to or if they're willing to go bypass it, then they will do it no matter what.
Exactly.
And I think that morale needs to change in the first place.
Right.
Now, as consumers, what kinds of further improvements do you want to see ahead?
Since you mentioned that morale here, morality or ethics here, a lot of people are saying the root cause of this all abuses and malpractices are because there is just too much cash around, meaning that the equipment manufacturers are charging their phones in terms of their official prices too much, too high. Some say Samsung Galaxy phones sometimes could be like 40-30% higher here in Korea than what's being sold, price being sold in the United States, for instance. So, these people are charging a lot for their equipment, and then service providers are charging a lot for their services. And from that amount, they're taking out money, and then they're using this as a cash for subsidy. So when they're saying their business is tight, of course it's tight because they're using 7 to 8 trillion won for the cash for subsidy here.
To attract customers.
Exactly. So if they lower the price and don't use subsidy practice, things will be fine, basically. So they're saying that's what needs to be done here. People are saying that the OECD practice in terms of checking OECD data, here in Korea, we are spending about 7% of our household expenditure on telecom related expenses, while the average OECD member countries people use about 2%. 7%, 2%, that shows the gap that we have to go down in terms of cutting down these prices of equipment as well as services.
So basically, all the bubble needs to go away and stick to the principal price, and everything will be fine, basically.
Bubble indeed. Bingo.
All right, Dr. Kim Byoung-joo, thank you so much for today.
Thank you.